I could just
No,
record.
it works. It
Oh, it
works.
works. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Nice, nice.
All right. Let's go ahead and do an intro. Did you want to do the intro? Or did you want me to do the intro?
Um, I'll do it. I mean, it's been a minute.
All right,
Uh,
go for it.
all right, yo, what is going on, everyone? We are doing this thing live. Just F it, do it live, and we are back. It's been a long hiatus. Welcome back to the Culture Attack. I'm your host, Ruben Prime. On a Friday, a special Friday. Normally, we don't do these on Fridays, but here we are on the final day of February. Came and went, and you know what we are here in Culture Attack. Everything regarding pop culture, film, TV shows, whatnot.
Mhm.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. And with me, as always, partner in crime, one half, my muchacho, bro, chacho, Drew Yari. How's it going on?
It's going. It's a nice little Friday night. Today's payday, but you know what that means. Those are going to bills.
Bills, bills, bills. Buy, 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 spend, spend, spend.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, luckily I have a little bit of leeway to spend on myself and my lady. Um,
Yep.
I before I got home, I went to a half price books, because I like to look for, physical media because that's important nowadays. Um, I bought Tombstone, the movie Tombstone with Kurt Russell.
Nice.
It came in a it came in a pretty cool DVD pack. And I also bought the film, and I wasn't even like looking for this film in particular. The French Connection,
Oh, nice.
starring the late Gene Hackman, which I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking about that. Um,
Yes. Yeah, there's been a lot of deaths. Um, and it's unfortunate. One of the things in life that we don't want to talk about, but unfortunately it is part of life.
yeah,
And lo and behold, and some people some people are saying that it has something to do with the whole um the Epstein files. The Epstein files were like
mm,
were being released, which that in itself is another circus. A lot of corruption that we can get into that a little later on too. But yeah, it's just it sucks. Like I heard that, I was like, damn. And then my coworker and I, we were talking about just like we just get into two Capricorns, we just get into like you know mini deep dives, just going from one topic to the next, and we were talking about um just like with um the nature of everything being digital, we're always plugged in, we're always online, and identity. And one of the things that we brought up was the film by Sandra Bullock was The Nut, and that came
mhm.
out like in the '90s, and that came into mind. And then her identity, Sandra Bullock's character, her identity was stolen, and she was trying to work, go through hell and high water to get her identity back. And then we just talked about from that film to another film, Enemy of the State with Will Smith.
And
And
Gene Hackman.
yep, and we brought that up, and he's like, yeah, like that's insane. And it just goes to show, like, um, when someone passes, we always like think about a movie, film, TV show that they starred in, and it's like, wow, like they were in that film or that movie or in that TV show, and it was it was one of his best. I said one of his best. Um, but yeah, man, it's like there's so much news going on, bro. Like it's like every week it's like a month worth of news.
Oh, you're
And
not kidding.
yeah, and just wrestling and and Hollywood or Hollyweird. and it's like, and it gets people, it just gets people so like disconnected because there's just so much news going on happening at once that you can't keep up. And a result, you end up just, checking out. So it's just a lot to process. But I mean, we'll try to hit on some of the news. Like, we got, the passing Gene Hackman. There was an actress, Buffy the Vampire Slayer actress, and
Mhm.
is it was it Charmed, I believe? She passed away. I'll get her name up in a second.
Michelle Trachtenberg?
Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And she was in
Y
Eurotrip too.
it feels morbid to think about that movie when she just passed away because it's like, oh, like, I mean, I'll save my thoughts for the conversation, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's all good. It's all good. It's yeah, death is again, it's part of life. But
Mhm,
we'll get into it. Also what we got in the pipeline, we got Daredevil Born Again
mhm,
streaming. It's gonna stream this coming week, and we'll be in March. So it's like already in the third
mhm.
month of the year. And it feels like we've gone through a year and it's only the third month. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about you know, hearing about people wanting souls, a
Oh god.
certain a certain certain people's champion turn corporate, turn final boss, turn corporate again. Uh he's, asking someone to, sell his soul, want your soul, and would comment on that since that is, a week. That was a week ago today, since tonight is Friday and SmackDown is on Friday, and we're not, I'll probably watch SmackDown on the repeat, but we'll talk about that. Um, I mean, my quick thoughts before we get like in too deep. And by the way, that's another movie. Um, I get why people were saying that it's like it didn't make any sense. It was long winded. Um, I get that, but then again, we'll get into this, you know, deep dive. But my whole thing was people were complaining about, oh, the road to WrestleMania this year, it sucks, it's not exciting, it's boring, it just feels too predictable. The matches don't have that feel to it. The whole bill doesn't have that WrestleMania feel, like where how last year was. And I think that we were spoiled last year due to fans, and their outcry because The Rock wanted to insert himself into the main event, insert himself into the WrestleMania picture. So I understand, but out of that, we got something good. We got the final boss. We got, Rock whooping Cody, and that segment, I think that is top, if not top three, is definitely top one of segments
Mhm.
on Raw. And like I go back and watch that every so often because it's like impactful. Like it's like you don't see that, and then in turn, because we got something that we normally don't get, we we got spoiled. So we expect every year going forward to have that same level. But then people complain like, "Oh, what is this? What the hell is this?" And like, think of the bigger picture, and the many matches, and just not only that, but all the story, and then after WrestleMania, the fallout of WrestleMania, what could happen, even with tomorrow, because tomorrow's Elimination Chamber. Um, they're up in Canada tomorrow for the pay per view, you know, and The Rock is going to get his answer from Cody. And again, we'll get into that later on. But it's like, to me, it's more of fake outrage because people will complain no matter what. And sometimes, damn if you do, damn if you don't. But I do think that people need to just chill out. There are more important things to get upset about, I feel, than this because we needed some excitement. We needed something to sink our teeth into and book fantasy book from now until through Mania, through some King of the Ring, SummerSlam, Money in the Bank before that. It's just so many things, and it's like people are not they're not happy, and they just immediately if it's not told to them, and and I'll make my other point. If it's not told to them, like fans nowadays, if something's not told to them, they don't like it. Rather than, hey, like you sit, you take a step back and you look at everything. You take that 30, 35 thousand-mile view and just look like, okay, from this we got B, C, D, E, so on and so forth. So I think that even though it was cryptic, it was weird, and has some Diddy vibes to it. It was very weird, The Rock's promo. But from that we're gonna get some good shit to quote that guy. We're gonna get some good shit. So I'm excited to talk about that and your thoughts on you know The Rock's promo and then what could happen tomorrow night at the Chamber and through WrestleMania and also some TNA stuff, TNA and
Mhm.
talk about that and NXT. Um, and also the granddaddy, some Captain America, Captain
Oh,
America
boy.
4. Yeah, like we're gonna go there. We're gonna try and fit that all in an hour and change, Lord
Gonna
willing,
f
but we'll try to
gonna
get
fit it in.
yeah, 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 we'll try, but if not, it's fine if we go over. But yeah, before we get into the festivities, remember, guys, you can follow myself on Twitter. I mean, if you want, well, X, if you want to do that, um, cool. Just don't be weird. And have conversation. You can follow me on X at Mr. Ruben Prime, and you can follow my co-host here, Drew at DY Experience
Mhm.
on X, and check out his wrestling show right here on the Wrestling Soup channel on Discord. And check out the YouTube channel. Definitely check out and support my co-host's YouTube channel for the Wednesday show, if you prefer, because some people prefer the YouTube. And as for me, YouTube and TikTok for the Culture Attack show, I'm gonna be ramping that up again. Um, it's been a minute, and I'm glad to be doing this again. And yeah, as so many things change, many things stay the same. So I'm just glad to be doing this again. But yeah, let's get into the festivities. So we had a passing, and a few passings, but two very prominent ones. Um, Gene Hackman, and it was just out of the blue. I found out about this the other day. I was getting ready for work and found out that Gene Hackman, his wife, and one of his three dogs passed away. And that was like, you hear about, a celebrity death or just someone dying in general. It sucks, but people were suspecting foul play. Even though the police they mentioned that there wasn't. And then there's like a lot of speculation. Well, the Epstein files were allegedly supposed to be released. Later on, yesterday, and then but that's a whole nother can of worms. But people are already like suspecting that. Oh well, he off himself because Epstein list. I don't, I don't think so. I really don't think that. Like, it's plausible to think that way, but I don't think so. It's just not. No, it doesn't make any sense. Um, it seems that um in the news, I mentioned that both Gene Hackman and his wife tested negative for carbon monoxide. So no, again, nothing dealing with carbon monoxide leak, and it seems like his pacemaker stopped um 9 days before. There's this article I pull up here, this publication, page 6 here. Okay, Gene Hackman's pacemaker stopped 9 days before he and his wife, Betsy, were found dead. Police reveal. Uh, published for February 28th, 2025. Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy, were found dead more than a week after the late Hollywood star's pacemaker stopped tracking his heart movements. Quote, an initial interrogation was conducted for uh, Mr. Hackman's pacemaker. This revealed that his last event was recorded on February 17th, 2025. Santa Fe County Sheriff said during a press conference Friday, uh, quote, I was advised that a more thorough investigation will be completed. Um, Reading on, Sheriff pointed out that the pathologist who shared the preliminary findings with him at 2 p.m. local time Friday said he believed Hackman's last day of life was February 17th, based on his pacemaker data. Uh, they also revealed that both individuals tested negative for carbon monoxide. However, an official cause of death has yet to be determined for Hackman and his wife. So they're still investigating, to end on that article. They're still investigating, but it seems like his pacemaker stopped working. Um, and that was like a long stretch. So there were obviously it seems like they were dead for a few days.
Mm.
And there were also talks about his like one of their dogs being found dead. Um, very just very suspicious. Um, but you have any just any thoughts about this? And uh, also, what's your favorite Gene Hackman film, or any film that Gene Hackman was starred in or appeared in?
First question is just it, it's unfortunate, and I say unfortunate because of the details, whether they're true or not, because we've been hearing back and forth of you know was it carbon monoxide, was it not carbon monoxide, was it A, B, C, and D, was there foul play?
Yeah,
Um, and I'm just going to try and focus on the career he had, and I don't I
yeah,
don't think I don't think this was like a Benoit thing of like he got set
no,
up or he was into some shady shit or whatever. I don't think so. I mean, the notion of Epps files, I'm like, it's a little bit of a reach, but that's neither here
yeah,
nor there. But yeah, it's unfortunate, because he had been out of the public eye for a while. Like I can't remember the
yeah,
last film he actually did. So just the fact that he died along with his wife and his dog, I guess in some ways, kind of like a good way to go out. You want to go out with your family. Um, it again, it's still unfortunate um, that somebody of that caliber, an actor of his caliber who always carried himself, like a professional. Um, like in any, granted, I haven't seen all of his films, but like in any film I've seen him in, he just always had this like kind of like a manly man presence about him.
yeah.
Like he seemed like the guy in the room. He was kind of a big guy too. Like he was pretty fucking tall. So um, he just always seemed like the toughest guy in the room. Like you'd want to mess with
Yeah.
him. Like he just seemed like everyone's dad, like their old school dad who he didn't have
Yeah.
to swear, he didn't have to cuss, or I just said swear and cuss. He didn't have to swear or yell to get his point across. He just had to look you in the eye and just tell you, "Be a man," and that's all you need to hear from him. You know, he apparently told Wes Anderson that on the set of Royal Tenenbaums. He told him to pull his pants up and be a man. And apparently, the whole cast was afraid of him to where they had to they had to keep Bill Murray on set during days where he wasn't filming just so that he can deal with Gene Hackman because he was the only one that wasn't afraid of Gene Hackman. But
Oh,
my favorite films, Unforgiven, I think is a good one. With uh, Clint Eastwood. That's like that's an underrated one. I don't think anyone's watched it. Replacements, I really did enjoy.
that was a good
It's
film.
where yeah, when he was the football coach and Keanu Reeves was the quarterback.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, there's been quite a few. Again, granted, I haven't seen all of his films. I mentioned on here I just bought French Connection on DVD.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, and I just kept hearing about it. So I'm probably gonna watch that hopefully a little later tonight or maybe sometime this weekend. But yeah, R.I.P. to a legend, Mr. Gene Hackman. The first Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Um, just again, don't want to sound like I'm being disrespectful. Wasn't my favorite Lex Luthor. I would say Rosenbaum was my favorite, but he was definitely the first, and he was a big name for that Superman movie that nobody thought was going to be as big as it was, and it was. People still remember it. Still stands the test of time. So yeah, R.I.P. to Mr. Hackman.
Yep. It's it's unfortunate, but at least he has left behind uh, a prominent legacy with his films, and yeah, like as far as my favorite films, um, we got the replacements, Enemy of the State that I brought up. He was in the Mexican, believe it or not. I
Mm.
forgot about that film. And there was another one. It was it's like this. Oh, Behind Enemy Lines. There's another one.
Mm.
Yeah,
Crimson Tide.
yeah. It's like he was like I remember him since I grew up and aware of his films like in the early 2000s, like the late 90s, early 2000s. That's where I remember him the most. But he has made films like, of course, before I was born, which is um, again phenomenal. But yeah, like his legacy will live on, and it's a terrible loss. And I do hope we find out like what happened. And I don't think there's foul play. I really don't. I mean, if there is, terrible, but again, we just gotta wait for the investigation to conclude. But just the preliminary results, like to start the investigation, like no carbon monoxide poisoning, his pacemaker did stop, so that's an indication that you know he passed on before that, and it's yeah, it sucks, but there's in the slew of celebrity passings, uh, Michelle Datchenberg, um, like damn, like I remember her from you mentioned the films and TV shows, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Gossip Girls, Euro Trip. That was one of those movies along with not another teen movie, and not to be R-rated, but yeah, that those movies made you they made you become a man early on. So
Mhm.
it's like, yeah. But we we can just talk briefly about what went down. Um, Unfortunately, she passed away at the age of 39. She was found dead in her apartment Wednesday night in New York City. And funny enough, she had an apartment near Columbus Circle, and I, used to frequent, those parts. That's near, for those who don't know about Columbus Circle, that is a area in Manhattan, or we call it the city here for the folks that live in New York. It's in the southwest, the southwest corner of Central Park. So the area southwest, that's Columbus Circle, and a lot of tourists, lot of tourists, big tourist traps. So yeah, that area is very familiar to me. But besides that, it's like 39. Like I'm not, we're not too far from 39. Like I turned 35 this year, and every time I hear about a death from someone that's around our age, like it brings me down to earth. It reminds me, yeah, like we can be here one day and gone tomorrow. So I'm always trying to like center myself when try to think about things like that, because you can never know. You can be here today and gone tomorrow, and like again, it's like I'm so young, and I do hope we find out uh we can find out the cause of death uh here. I'm gonna read an article from USA Today. Michelle Trachtenberg, cause of death revealed after Gossip Girl star dies at 39. Published February 27th of 2025, and it was updated today, February 28th. Um, Michelle Trachtenberg's cause and manner of death has been officially released. The officer of chief medical examiner in New York City, where Trachtenberg was found dead early Wednesday, ruled both cause and manner of death as undetermined, according to a statement shared Thursday with USA Today. Undetermined can mean either there was adequate information to assess how a person died, or that information was conflicting with equal amounts of supporting or negliging negating a significant matter of death, such as natural or accidental. Datchenberg's family declined an autopsy, and medical examiner's office honored that request, CNN and ABC News report. So yeah, it's undetermined, and the family didn't want to have an autopsy, maybe for religious reasons, or I don't know. But even though I would like to find, we all like to find out your family or friend passes away, you would like to find out the cause of death. But I mean, it's the family's wishes, so we do have to honor that. But um, what do you think about this? What was your initial reaction when finding out that she passed?
I mean, you kinda pretty much said everything needed to be said. Initial reaction, I mean, I was shocked because she was young. She was so young, and when someone that young dies, especially somebody that's in the spotlight, you kind of assume, was it foul play? Did she OD? It's hardly ever natural causes or just like an unfortunate accident. In this case, it seemed like it was natural causes. Um,
Yeah.
and a friend of mine on Facebook even brought up the whole thing that liver transplant. And I mean, I didn't know this because I wasn't following on social media prior, but um, apparently, she was putting up pictures about how she was, and blah blah blah. And of course, fans see her and it's like, oh, she ODing and she doing drugs, and it's just like people just being so soulless and mean spirited and almost evil with these kind of comments. Kind of like with Chadwick, in Final Days
Yeah.
when people were commenting on his appearance and they were making fun of him. And I mean, we truly didn't know what was going on with him. I just assumed, was he losing a lot of weight for a role? But
Yeah.
he just something looks off about him, and then you kind of find out why, that he had been with this like cancer for 4 years. I'm like, Jesus Christ. So
Mhm.
for her, it's I think in her case, people already knew about the liver transplant, but again, just people still being fucking morons. Um, kind of like you with Michelle Trachtenberg. She was that Nickelodeon sweetheart. Um, she first came out on Pete and Pete. That's where we
Mhm.
first saw her, and then she did Harry at the Spy, which I never watched. I know a lot of people watched it. I never watched it. Um, Later on, she did Eurotrip, which is where you know, I hate to sound morbid, but that's kind of where we took notice of like, who, hello, Miss Trachtenberg.
Yeah.
Um, she was a good looking kid, as as Draper would say, good looking kid.
Yeah.
Um, and then later on, she did films like 17 again, which starred another actor that passed away last year, Matthew Perry, who played her
Yeah.
father. And then later on did Gossip Girl, which never watched because not my show.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, suck. It really does. She came out in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which shockingly enough, I never got into Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Never,
which
not
is
even one episode.
I might have watched maybe a few episodes. I think I watched Angel more, which is weird.
Okay,
Um,
understandable.
I and it's on my watch list. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I've always been wanting to watch it, so I don't know. But it does suck. Again, someone that young and who was a part of our childhood growing up. Um, yeah, again, another one. R.I.P.
Yeah, it's it's definitely unfortunate, like someone passing so young, and yeah, like all we can say is again to everyone that's passed, celebrity or not, like it is tragic, but again, you will be immortalized. Just the fact that we remember all these films, all these TV shows that all these actors have been in, and you're immortal. To quote, well, not necessarily gonna quote that person, but like what again, what someone does, no matter, and I bring this up because a lot of times, like when celebrities pass, like, oh my God, it's tragedy. But then when a regular person passes, it's like, oh, but it's just it sucks not because they're famous or were famous. It's especially for a younger person. It sucks that they still had a long life to live,
All right.
celebrity or not. And that's my takeaway. It's like, hey, it's fucking terrible. It's tragic that someone that young passed away like just abruptly, and they didn't get to live like their full life. So that is the main takeaway. That's the main tragedy. And yeah, it's just it is unfortunate, but at least we have everything, like all her this, filmography to, watch, that's all we can do. And again, not to, like you said, not sound morbid or whatnot, but Your Trip is one of those films that we discovered her, and like a lot of us, like we became men. We, are young. Like I was 14 when that movie came out. I became a man. I mean, I already had like facial hair and whatnot back then, but I was already, became a man, more of a man. Just just watching
Mhm.
a lot of those, a lot of those films. But yeah,
She also came out in a Trapped music video.
really.
The band Trapped, Echo, that was the song.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, she came out
yeah,
in that, and, fuck, what was it? Inspector Gadget movie.
yeah, yeah. It's about the guy. Yeah,
She was Penny. I mean, the movie was trash, but she came out in it. I just want to point that out.
yeah. It I like Inspector Gadget is one of those guilty pleasures, even though like the movie wasn't good, but man, it's just like I think if the movie would have come out now, I think would have been made better, but that's just me, wishful thinking. But yeah, that movie sucks. Like hindsight. But hey, it's so good that it's so excuse me, it's so bad that it's good. It's like I it's just something I watch even though I know it's terrible.
Yeah, I
Um
get you.
yeah. Let's just see. Yeah, let's get into some TV shows. Invincible. Have
Oh,
you
yeah.
been keeping
Uh,
track? Have been up to date with Invincible? I didn't watch the episode that came out this Wednesday, but I did get like a little glimpse.
oh,
But
if only we had StreamYard, we can do the Invincible intro, right? Invincible!
yeah,
I love Invincible. I think it's better than The Boys. Not to say
yeah,
that I think The Boys is trash. I love The Boys, but, like, I think the one thing Invincible has over The Boys is just it has better writing, and it seems like there's more consequences. Whereas the boys for the most part is satire and shock value, and every now and then they have to throw in a dick joke or some really just traumatizing sex joke, a la the Human
yeah,
Centipede from last year. Um, Invincible, I think, has better writing and better characters, and it really does paint the picture of it really does suck to be a superhero. And
yes,
this is why superheroes can't exist in real life because whether they're doing good or not, even if they're doing good, they're still going to cause problems. And like this really does paint the picture of this is why governments need to put these heroes in check, kind of like in Civil War. Um, Invincible does a better job, than Marvel of really going places that they
yeah,
don't want to go and really sticking to it. Because Civil War kind of did it where they addressed us like, hey, are these heroes really doing the best job they can? Because they're leaving a lot of bodies in their wake. And they just like steered away from that. Whereas Invincible is like every episode is always like, yeah, these heroes aren't perfect. Like they're leaving a lot of carnage and destruction everywhere they go. I mean, like Cecil, I think is the best character on the show because you can't tell if he's an asshole or if he's, one of the good guys. He's definitely an asshole, but he makes a good point because
yeah,
like he's telling Mark, you know, after what your dad did, I got to keep my eye on because what happens when you have a bad day and you
mhm,
level the whole city and the whole time Mark's trying to justify what he's doing and Cecil's like you're having a tantrum right now. What happens in that tantrum like destroys like this small town. So and he made good points and you're at the I'm at the point where I'm like I'm siding with Cecil. I'm like Mark, I think you're in the wrong. Like Cecil's right here.
yeah,
So
yeah,
um I'm really digging the season. The last episode, I won't spoil too much because you haven't seen it. All I'm saying is that it really ends on that feeling of hopelessness. Like they introduce a character that's very deeply disturbed because of what happened when Omni-Man destroyed Chicago.
Mm,
And, he's holding Mark accountable because all he saw was Mark there, with him, but he didn't know that Mark was actually fighting him.
yeah.
And it's such a good show. And like the guy that's playing him, you'll hear his voice like right off the bat. You'll know who it is. So it's kind of cool that he's in it. And then it goes one way and then it goes another. And it just like it ends where I was like, shit, like god damn. And and of course, I mean, you already know they're bringing back a character from last season that we thought was dead, but
Yeah.
it's it's really a multiversal being. And there's two more episodes, and from what I heard, it brings back that same season one energy, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, I love. Listen, when it comes to season one, especially episode one, um, and I seen it like when my best friend he recommended the show to me. He's like, "Oh,
Mm.
Ruben, check out the show," and I was like, "I guess." I mean, all right. And then after episode one, I was like, "That's different. I like it," and I got hooked immediately after the first episode. And like you mentioned, like you made a lot of good points. Um, and this is something that I saw on social media that a lot of people weren't getting. And I even put on keep saying Twitter, but on X, damn team Cecil. And the reason why that is because like after what Omni Man did Chicago in season one, like you gotta have contingencies. Like you gotta cover your ass. It's kind of like at a job. Like you gotta make sure that all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted because this is not like messing up paperwork. This is like literally lives and just whole towns and cities just being reduced to rubble. People dying. So it's like yeah, like I side with Cecil, and if people don't like it, I mean that's your problem. But he makes a lot of logical points, and yeah, and he's an asshole. So what? But he's right. Like it doesn't make him less true. Like in what he's saying.
Yeah, it's like what CM Punk says. I'm not gonna stab you in the back. I'm gonna stab you in the front. And I'm
Yeah,
gonna I'm gonna tell you, how I feel. I'm gonna tell you the truth, whether you like it or not. Um, he's such a great character. And Walton Goggins, I think, does a great job voicing him.
yeah,
And everybody else in this season, I think, has had something to do. I like Rex Splode. I thought has had a really good season.
yeah,
Um, he's become more than just the hey, I'm gonna make a smart ass comment guy. Like he's had more layers to his character, to where you're like, okay, Rex, I hear you. I got you. Like he's a very tragic character in a lot of ways. Um, and they're even doing something with what do you call Monster Girl and the other kid. I forget his name. Where it's like, at first I was like, okay, where's this going? Like, because I'm not really.
Kate and her brother
No, no, no,
is
no, no. Monster Girl.
oh yeah 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 and a robot yeah yeah
Yeah, where I'm just like, okay, I'm not interested in this, and then it get to the point where I'm like, oh, where I'm just like, that's
yeah
that's cute. Okay. Um, and another thing, the violence. Granted, it's an animated show. Whoever is in charge of like those sound effects, whenever you just hear fist hitting skin and flesh torn off, it's just like that. Just sounds realistic. Like that
yeah
almost makes me uneasy. That makes me almost
yeah
like curl a little bit when I hear it. Um,
yeah. It's so realistic. Yeah, like that's definitely one of the attributes that I love about the show is that it's even though it's an animation, just the color of the blood and the battle damage that the characters take and just the sound effects of the blood splattering, bones breaking, skin being torn, just
It's just,
Heads
I,
being ripped off. Yeah.
and I just like again maybe I'm you know maybe I should put on my scarf and just I like complex characters and complex storylines. I do. We all do. And when it comes to a lot of these like superhero things, like the best ones are the ones that have very complex, characters and storylines, like Invincible, like X-Men 97, like Neighborhood Spider-Man. I don't know if we were going to talk about that. Um, it's just that's what makes it so good. And just the actors are great in it too. So
Yeah.
again, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I just it pains me that Amazon doesn't really promote it that much because
Yeah.
it feels like you have to look for it. It almost feels like you're meeting someone in a dark alley to go, "Hey, I got Invincible season 3. What about Reacher? You like Reacher? Yeah. Yeah, you want to watch it? Sure. It's gonna cost you." But yeah, I do love Invincible. I love it a lot. Can't say enough good things about it. Um, I especially like the fact that they didn't do that, splitting it into two parts shit, which I just was like, why? Why did you do that? Um,
Yeah.
like animated shows, I really think they benefit from just coming out every year. Like, uh, was it X-Men 97? I think is coming out next year, which I'm hoping doesn't really lose viewers on it. And I don't know, Invincible's weird because the first season came out in 2020, and then the next season we didn't get until last year, and then that got split into two parts, which made no sense. And then they just wised up and like, yeah, we're just gonna release it every year. Which I'm like, all right, that's probably a better
Yeah.
idea. But
It's for the
uh,
best. And they released 3 episodes for the season premiere of episode 3 episodes for the third season premiere. So that was a good thing just to
right.
get people like, glued in. And ever since then it's like, yo, like it's so far has been like overall the season has been great. Like I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm gonna watch the this week's episode right after this, after we're done recording this. But yeah, it's every character, no matter how major or minor, has like purpose, and it helps with the story. Um, Speaking of story, um, actually no, we can leave that for next. But I know Daredevil Born Again is is coming out this week on Disney Plus, and it's been getting pretty good, positive talk, which is good. I'm hoping that the show just sticks to the Netflix, adaptation because it just desperately Marvel desperately needs, just a good show, just a string of good shows like Daredevil, especially the Netflix Daredevil show was appointment viewing, and
Hmm.
um, She-Hulk, Attorney at Law didn't help matters for the character. Um, let's just get that out there. That show is horrendously bad. Um, I
I
think
I liked it. I just thought it was funky in the middle, but that's that's all I'm going to say about that. So continue.
okay. Um, but I'm just hoping this this show. I'm hoping this show does well, and I hope that it's just no surprises. And when I mean surprises, no nonsense, just straight shot, straight shooter. Give us Matt Murdock, Daredevil, give us Punisher, Frank Castle, give us Kingpin, give us just give us that. Just tell a story, surrounding those characters and just bloody, gritty. We're talking about bloody and gritty when it came to Invincible, and that's the animated show. So this being live action, getting that level of violence and grittiness, it's definitely needed. No more kiddie friendly. Like you gotta go about gaining some people, but you gotta get some audience back because the last strings of Marvel projects have not been good. But I'm excited for this. I'm gonna definitely tune in, and we'll definitely talk about it when we do the next stream. Do our like review. And yeah, like what are your thoughts on the upcoming Daredevil Born Again series?
I'm looking forward to it. Because I love the Daredevil Netflix series. If we're talking about some of the best things that Marvel's done, it definitely belongs there. Um, if we're talking about TV shows in general, it's probably the best Marvel live action TV show. Um, I've always been a fan of Daredevil. I I was a fan of him when I saw him in the Spider-Man cartoon in the '90s. I thought he was kind of a cool looking character. He was kind of like Batman in a way. I think that's what kind of attracted me to him. He looked like Batman. Um, the '03 Ben Affleck movie. Listen, the director's cut is a liar. Like, trust me. I know it's kind of like a hipster thing to say, but trust me, the director's cut is like much, much, much better. But
Yeah,
we'll just kind of leave it at that. Um, the TV show is great too. Charlie Cox, I think, is amazing as Daredevil. He's someone that gets the character, and for somebody that never even heard of Daredevil, and yeah, because that's the story is that he didn't even know who Daredevil was, and that he was blind, and yet
yeah,
he's the best interpretation of the character, and he's been able to understand it better. So that's number one. I'm happy for him. Vincent D'Onofrio, I think, is like the kingpin. Um, and it's just like when you see him, you don't see Vincent D'Onofrio, you see Kingpin. You see
yeah,
Wilson Fisk. When he puts on that voice, and he's in that white suit, and like most of the time, he doesn't need to yell. He just needs to stand right in front of you with that empty, look on his face, and just say, your services are no longer required, and smash her, and just like pretty much chop your head off with a fucking car door. Like Jesus Christ, you
yeah.
humiliated me in front of my Vesta. That was a bad impression, by the way. And of course, my boy Frank Castle. I'm just
Yeah.
happy. I'm happy he's back. I'm happy Johnny's back. Um, I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about this. They're going to do a Punisher special, not a TV series, but a special on Disney Plus. Actually written by John Bernthal. He's going to
Okay.
co-write it. The director of the film, or I guess the mini movie special, whatever, is going to be a guy that John Bernthal has worked with in the past. He directed King Richard, which was the movie about the Williams sisters with Will Smith that John Bernthal was actually in, and he actually directed him on a show called We Own This City. It was on HBO. So the fact that John Bernthal's like, "Hey, come direct this with me. I'll write it," and just that to me shows that it's in good hands because John Bernthal's writing it, and it
Yeah.
just shows that he cares about the character. And I wasn't worried when he came back because John Bernthal is very much a guy who does not care about being famous. He cares about the work. And the fact that he took on this character, Frank Castle, and for years have been saying straight up like, I want to come back, but it has to be like right. The character has to be right. I don't care about money. I don't care about, getting paid $5 million, for a role. I just care that the character is correct and that the fans accept it. So when he came back, I'm like, yep, that means Johnny got what he wanted, and that means we're going to get what we want. And from the way it looks in the trailers, Frank looks crazy as ever, with that hatchet.
Wait.
Um, so I'm happy. I'm happy for this series. I'm happy that I'm hearing good things. Um, have one slight worry, and in this like age of Marvel where everything looks good on paper, but then you watch it and it's just like either okay to meh to bad.
Yeah,
In this case, I keep hearing that it's violent. It's violent. It's ultra violent. It's more violent than Netflix. I'm like, okay, I just hope they don't get lost in the violence because
yeah,
we want the violence, we want the dark tone. But if it's just going to be all violence, it's like I could have just watched The Boys for that. Like I want a good story too. I want a story that doesn't feel like it's cookie cutter and for the kiddos. Like I want Daredevil the way it was meant to be. I want the Punisher the way it was meant to be. So, but yeah, I'm
right.
again overall I'm hearing good things. I'm hearing very very good things from everybody, from trusted sources. Um, but yeah, I can't wait. Tuesday can't come soon enough.
Agreed, agreed. Yeah, I like on the show we have like I'm very critical, and that comes from a place of just respecting the source material, just respecting the fans that take time to, consume the content. So I'm just like, yeah, like I wanna talk about shows that are good. And we've done that, with Invincible, The Bear, um, shows like that, X-Men 97, just talking about good TV shows, good movies. Um, it is just something that I like to do. But hey, if something's bad, gotta call it out. And my hope is that, with Daredevil Born Again, that we get just some good TV, that we get back into form and just having, great storytelling. Just tell the story with the characters, bring, just bring out the best that these characters, can be in the setting that they're in. So that way, like we can get more, and then with the more positive press, then we can get more seasons out of the show, and then we can get, more, just more, Punisher, more Daredevil, more Kingpin, because
Which
we want that.
they already have a season two that's about to film. Like like in the season one is or I guess not season one, or I guess I don't know what you would call it. I guess technically season five, but yeah, they've already cast fucking Matthew Lillard in season two.
Hmm.
Yeah, Matthew Lillard, Five Nights Scream, Matthew Lillard, Shaggy, Matthew Lillard.
Yes.
He's gonna
Yeah.
be in season two of he's gonna be in season two of Daredevil Born Again, which is
I like
just
it.
like I love Matthew Lillard, and the fact that he's in a Marvel thing, I'm like, who is he gonna play? Like I can't even think of anyone he can play, but I'm really fucking intrigued. And apparently, old girl Jessica Jones, she might be coming back for season two.
Okay.
Kristen, what the fuck's her name? Kristen, uh, uh Kristen Ritter. There you go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, things are looking good. Like, with Marvel, I mean, I have a feeling what the next topic's going to be about, but like, I think with their TV shows, stuff like Daredevil works. Um, but for the most part, and also X-Men '97 works because it's its own thing. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man works because it's its own thing. Um, but for the most part, for the live action stuff, they really should just look into just doing specials.
Yeah.
Stuff like the Guardians of the Galaxy special worked. Um, you know, Werewolf by Night work, which I personally liked Werewolf by Night. And they're doing the Punisher thing, which is going to be a special. I really think they should just stick to specials. Because stuff like all along probably should have just been like an hour special. Um, Other shit like that really should just be specials. They really should just focus more on the movies, especially their bigger tier characters. And if you want to do stuff for your smaller characters, just do like an hour long special on Disney Plus. Easy fix.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. Like it definitely makes sense, especially you can definitely cram an hour of content with these small characters so we can get more acquainted with them rather than just doing a whole film or a season when really just an hour special will you know it'll be just fine. It'll suffice. I think that's the way to go. It's it's cheaper. Things cheaper.
Right.
Logistic wise. I think that's the most important thing. And then you could just focus all your energy on films, and then you could just integrate those specials, if you want, into the films when it's time to put that character into the big screen. You'd be like, oh, I remember that character. It's from that special, rather than having to watch movies and movies and movie after movie after movie and
Right.
season, just seasons and seasons of stuff. So I think that's just the best way to go.
Which is
Um,
what I think they're doing, because the reason why there's so much shit this year from Marvel is because this is the stuff that they had already finished from like 3 or 4 years ago. And so they're
yeah,
like, okay, well, we got to release it. So they had to release so much shit this year, and then the next, few years coming is when they're going to start downsizing. So they're going to start downsizing on movies. Uh, they just shelved a few things because they were supposed to do a Nova, I think a TV series or a special, and that got shelved. And then there's two other things. But yeah, I think yeah. In closing, that's definitely the best way to go.
agreed, agreed. Um, okay, the the co-main event. We gotta talk about Captain America, Brave New World, New World Order, Cap 4.
New world order.
Yeah. Um, Personally, I have not seen the film.
Hmm.
I've I figured let me wait a while. Because I was curious to see the film. Then I got sick um during the weekend, open weekend. And I had watched like some of the reviews and non-spoiler stuff, and then I went and watched a lot of the spoiler reviews so I can get a grasp of the film. And like getting the synopsis, because I ran down the synopsis a bit. Um, I had some hope for the film. Like I was hoping that there was some good. And surprisingly, I'll say the only thing that was good of the film is a lot of the action. Like the action was cool, but everything else around it just felt like a Frankenstein's monster of a film because there was so many things added, taken away. Our boy Seth Rollins, he was supposed to be in the film. This part got cut because remember he was away. He was supposed to be in the film, and that's when it was called New World Order.
Hmm.
And they had done reshoots, a few reshoots, and the first like test screenings were bad, and then that caused them to do, to reshoot parts of the film, and then it was reshot again, and it's like, yeah, it's like when you gotta reshoot a film multiple times, when you gotta cut actors, um, roles of actors, that kind of lets you know like the trajectory of the film is gonna be at, and I was like, yeah, I'm glad I just skipped the film. I mean, I'm glad it wasn't 2.5 hours long. Thank goodness. It was like an hour, 46, 47 minutes. So that's
Like
good.
hour 50, I think.
Okay, so under 2 hours. Nothing too too insane, but um, my whole thing is just based on the the trailer and then watching the reviews of other people, it had an identity problem. Definitely had an identity crisis. I think that for a film that's titled Captain America, you will think that, hey, like, this is a perfect opportunity to have the audience be introduced to Sam Wilson. Who is he? What is his motivations? His what is his story? What's the story being told of him to, just to get us into the character. And we didn't like they tried, but I think because of the time period that we're in now, because the film manager was supposed to have been released a while ago. And because of that, they had to reshoot, they had to scramble. So in turn, all the political stuff, all the spicy stuff that they had to take that out. So my whole thing is if you're going to if you're gonna, film stuff, you're gonna put it out there, just do it. At least we know, okay, this is what the film is trying to be about. This is the intention. And it just felt empty, it just felt like they they didn't pick a lane. They were like kind of like they backed off. They were nervous with the messaging. And I think just telling the story of Sam Wilson, because we know with Captain America, I'll say this, and what I'll let you have your say your thoughts about what I said about the film. The reason why people love Captain America, you know, Steve Rogers, is because uh, the character was from a different era. He's the guy that literally will will put himself on top of a grenade to save the lives of his comrades, of his friends, of his fellow soldiers. And then dealing with the Red Skull, and then going about being frozen, and then being, just thawed out, and having, just being a fish out of water in a different time period, and realizing that all of everyone you knew, your friends, your family, are just gone. That that notion of being taken from one environment to another, not knowing anybody or anything, and trying to get adjusted, that is something that everyone could relate to. And I think that you could have told the story of Sam Wilson trying to be Captain America, understanding that he's not Steve Rogers. There's some big shoes to fill, but he can create his own legacy. He can, start off as trying to, learn who he is and adjust in this new world, brave new world. There you go. Um, I just think that it was a missed opportunity because originally, and we know this, the film was going to be an extension, like just in terms of the tone and the language and the environment, the from Falcon and Winter Soldier. It was going to be a lot of that, and they course corrected, and that's why we had the film that we had. Um, I think just telling the story of Sam Wilson trying to be Captain America and just finding himself, creating a new identity, starting from new, reinventing himself, and trying to do what's right, not trusting in the government after he's been taught to believe, hey, trying to do the right thing. But it's it's just storytelling, and it's I noticed that with wrestling too. We'll talk about that. But I noticed that with wrestling too. Like it's just the issue with storytelling. It's just like very It's just very um just autopilot. And I think that to tell a story, to tell a good story is to take a risk. And I think that it's just an issue of fear when trying to tell a story, taking a risk. Like it's scary. It's like a bad thing to try to, tell, just tell a simple story, take a risk. I don't know. Like I just think that it was a missed opportunity, and that's why the film didn't do too well. And again, with all the reshoots, all the marketing, like this movie could not afford to, to drop off the way it did. I just think that with all the reshoots, with everything, all the drama and the controversy, you would think that, hey, this one could have been good, but you throw in the Red Hulk in there, like I, I that didn't make any sense. Just throwing in the Red Hulk, just for laughs, for giggles, didn't make any sense. And we need a Hulk movie. We need our own standalone Hulk film. If Marvel can have billions of dollars to spend on reshoots and all that, they could definitely spend the money to get the rights from Universal. Like I just don't understand. Like I would, and I know you would, Drew, would love to have a standalone Hulk film, but we're not in that world. We're not in that universe, unfortunately. But again, I said a lot. Just overall, what are your thoughts on what I said, and what are your thoughts on? Well, first, what are your thoughts on the film, and then what are your thoughts on what I said? Do you agree, disagree? Do you want to gouge my eyes out on what I said?
I'm gonna start gouging your eyes out. No, uh, you said you brought up something interesting when you were looking up reviews, where you said the film was suffering an identity problem, and I think that's kind of right. Well, I actually think that for the most part, it's right because listen, I enjoyed the film. I didn't think it was. I thought it could have been so much better. I thought there was a better story to tell. I gave it a C plus, which that was a fair. I think that's fair, a C plus. Um, which in this current climate of Marvel films since Endgame, where yeah, we'll get No Way Home, we'll get Deadpool, Wolverine, we'll get Guardians 3, but we haven't gotten a lot of good films. We've gotten a lot of just okay to meh to bad, and a C plus is probably better than all of that. But like you said at the beginning of the show, we don't accept mediocrity. Like we need good. Like give us good. Not everything needs to be like perfection. It just needs to be good. Give us something that's really good. In this case, I the the Rotten Tomatoes score, which again, it's just like, why are we still listening to Rotten Tomatoes? Like, first of all, the Rotten Tomatoes score doesn't justify this movie. Like, the movie is much better than the Rotten Tomatoes score gives it, but it is a very flawed movie. Um, I feel like the movie has a lot to say, but it doesn't know how to say it. Instead, it just whispers it. Whereas, Winter Soldier had a lot to say. That was very much a political spy thriller. Civil War had a lot to say. Um, this movie, the original story was supposed to be about the Serpent Society, and Seth Rollins was supposed to be King Cobra. They even hired an actress to be Diamondback, and because of reshoots and apparently poor test screenings, which I'm always I always kind of roll my eyes at test screenings because for the most part it's always executives that at those test screenings, from what I know. So it's like I'm intrigued as to what the original cut of that film would have been. Um, but yeah, a big chunk of this movie didn't really feel like Sam's story. It didn't really feel like a Sam Wilson story. It felt more like, hey, we're gonna tie up a loose end from Eternals. You remember Eternals? We're gonna finally address that giant celestial robot thing hanging out in the ocean, and we're gonna bring in adamantium. And again, not gonna lie, when I heard Harrison Ford say adamantium, my nerd boner got hard. I'm like, what? Uh, adamantium. Yes. Like every time I kept hearing him say adamantium, I'm like, oh yes, give it to me. Um, so that was cool. And then of course, this this felt like an unofficial sequel to Incredible Hulk, which a lot of people will say is one of their least favorite MCU films. Same thing with Eternals. Whereas like you're bringing in a character from that movie, which if anyone doesn't know who that character is, I won't spoil it for you. Um, so that's one. A lot of the movie didn't feel like it was Sam's story. It felt more like it was other people's stories, and it was stories from movies that weren't very well received.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing is like you can tell where the reshoots were. Like they were pretty obvious, but not like Madam Web obvious. They weren't bad, but they were just noticeable. Like there was one scene in particular where Giancarlo Esposito, who did get brought in during reshoot, there's a scene where him and Anthony Mackie are talking, and just the way the scene is edited, like I just knew right off the bat, yeah, they were not in the same like room together when they were filming that scene.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty noticeable. Like not bad, but it was pretty noticeable. And again, it's just I love Giancarlo, and from what I heard, he's going to be back in other Marvel things, which is just like okay, well, because I just felt like he got wasted on the show. I mean, in this movie. Um, the villains were not that interesting either. Like
Yeah.
the main villain, I'm not gonna say who it is, but like his reasoning for things didn't really make any sense. Like he was like his whole beef with Ross is I'm gonna expose you to the whole world. I'm like, okay, and then what? Like, what else are you gonna
Yeah.
do? So it's just like it was kind of stupid. The actors weren't really the problem. I think the actors are good. Like Anthony Mackie was great in this film. He is Captain America. I think he's earned that title after this film. Harrison Ford actually showed up to work. Like he didn't just like take a paycheck. Like he actually came to work, and there was a lot of like good dramatic scenes with him in it. So he was great. The dude in the new Falcon, I thought he was good too. Him and Mackie had good chemistry. Um, there was another character they brought in that I don't remember the actual name of the guy, but he's supposed to be a character in the comic books named Demolition Man or D-Man. And I was enjoying his character for a while, and then they just kind of wasted him, which I'm like, okay, that was very abrupt. Um, and the action was fine. I mean, not anywhere near the action from like Winter Soldier or Civil War, but it was fine. The Red Hulk thing I didn't think was needed at all. Like they really hammered this shit home with the Red
Yeah.
Hulk. Like that was their selling point of this film. I remember RJ was telling me that like a year before the film even came out, like they're already selling Red Hulk, toys at McDonald's. And
Yeah.
even at his work, which I won't disclose where RJ works. Um, and it felt more like they were trying to advertise Red Hulk than they were Captain America, which is unfortunate because this is Sam Wilson's movie. And it's also kind of fucked up because it's a film about a black Captain America during Black History Month, and you're it almost seems like you're barely promoting Captain America, so you can like get your dick hard with the Red Hulk or whatever. But um, all in all, like I don't think they should have put Red Hulk in this movie. I don't have a problem with them putting Ross in the movie. I think they probably should just save Red Hulk for maybe like a post credit scene. Um, Looking back on it, I did enjoy Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but when you really think about it, Falcon and the Winter Soldier should have been Sam Wilson's Captain America movie. Like that would have been a much more interesting movie to tell, where it's about Sam trying to earn, the title of Captain America in a movie instead of a TV show, which again I liked. I don't think a lot of other people liked it too much. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I thought it suffered from a lot of COVID reshoots. Um, but yeah, this movie, I will say, don't listen to critics and watch it on your own. Um, it needs at least 100 million to break even, which uh Oscar weekend is happening, so it might happen. But it's a movie that I thought Sam Wilson deserved a lot better. I thought Anthony Mackie deserved a lot better. Um, it should have been so much better. It should have, it's Captain America. Like you would have thought the title would have been enough, but there's Marvel has been kind of shitting the bed lately with a lot of movies, and yeah, you'll get the Deadpool Wolverines, which that was going to make $1 billion regardless. No Way Home was going to make $1 billion as Spider-Man. You can't fuck up Spider-Man. Um, yeah, again, it's unfortunate that the movie didn't do as well as it did. I guess critic wise, but again, I liked it. I gave it a C plus. I might go see it again. The missus wants to see it again. Um, but again, I'm just putting it out there for anyone. Just please go see it. Like, don't listen to critics. Again, I personally think a lot of critics have a hidden agenda, but I'm not gonna deep dive too much into that. But well, just you already know what I mean, Ruben. But um, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the movie.
Okay. I mean, listen, I think the best stories are the simplest to be told. And then uh, just being able to tell the story about a character, having go through adversity, figure out who they are, to then when it gets to the climax, it's like, oh, okay, we're rooting for you kind of thing. Like we've been on that ride with you throughout the movie, throughout the film, and then once we get that resolution, organically, I, I think that it was a missed opportunity for that. And I mean, if the film, when the film comes out on on Disney Plus, I'll give it a watch. But I'm not personally, I'm not spending, and ticket prices are insane nowadays. Like,
Yeah.
in order for me to spend money and to go to a movie theater, it has to be a damn good film. And this wasn't a good film. It wasn't god awful, but it just wasn't good when it boils down. And it's just a lost opportunity. Just so much noise, so much distractions. We had the Red Hulk. We had all these wasted potential with these characters being cut, reshoots. It didn't do the film justice. Like it hurt the film at the end of the day. And I think just telling a simple story with the character that you have, and having the character go through adversity, and going through the beats, and all it takes is to have a good writer. And it don't
Mhm.
matter if it's Black History Month. Like, you can tell a good story. This
Mhm.
is I just feel like this is no excuse. And, like, to quote Sam Wilson, you know, Marvel got to do better. Like, straight
Mhm.
up, they got to do better. Um, but you sound a little low, by the way.
Sound low?
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. I have no idea what to do about that.
Wait, sound a little better now.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, you sound better. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Um,
Probably because my microphone's away from me. But
okay. Um, but yes, that's just our thoughts on the film. I I do hope the next batch of Marvel projects are good. Um, but that we gotta leave. There's so much to talk, to talk about. But I think next up we gotta talk about some soul stealers, some soul snatchers, and I ain't talking about Soul Ruka. We definitely have to talk
I mean,
about The Rock. Yeah, we gotta
mhm.
talk about The Rock and Cody Rhodes and the bizarre segment that went down last Friday night on SmackDown. Uh, they were live from New Orleans last Friday night, and as you know, The Rock was announced to appear on SmackDown the previous, night before, and of course, we knew that The Rock was gonna come in there and shake things up like he did last year. And of course, when you heard about the news, and you predicted it, which it makes sense because they were in New Orleans. It just makes sense for The Rock to announce that New Orleans was going to host WrestleMania next year. Um, but of course, he had Cody Rhodes come out and he mentioned he mentioned that he can give Cody the world if Cody becomes his champion. But since The Rock is in terms of men with power, he's one of the most powerful people, and of course, kayfabe storyline. Yeah, he is the most powerful man in WWE and TKO. He's a member of the board, so he holds a lot of power. So he technically is like Cody is his champion, logically speaking, when you think about it. So that was kind of bizarre, but I think that, and we'll get to that. He This was reminiscent of corporate, the corporate champion, The Rock when the whole corporation was going down during the 90s and the Attitude Era, and they wanted they had The Rock be the corporate champion because Vince didn't want Austin to be champion because Austin is everything that Vince didn't want in a champion. So I think that's where we're going, you know, in modern day. But then it just got strange, and yeah, I got a chuckle out of that because that moment became a meme. Like I send you a few of them on Instagram that they're hilarious. But I mean, listen, when you have a big buff dude telling you, listen, like I don't want that. I want your soul. It does sound off-putting, in hindsight thinking about it. But I I mean the other day I was on the subway, in New York, I was taking the train, and the dude wasn't buff, but thank God. Um but he was kinda, I don't know, he was on something, and immediately like he came up talking to me, talking about graffiti, talking about that he used to do all the graffiti in Atlanta, Georgia. I mean, oh, well, Cody's from Atlanta, Georgia. Strange world. But I was like, oh no, like he's gonna ask me for my soul again. Like, oh God. Like that came up to mind because it's like, New York, w- when you're taking the train, you're taking the subway, you deal with a lot of strange characters. They ask you for $1, they ask you for food, anything. So it's like you kind of get used to people coming up to you and asking you for random stuff. So that's why for me personally, when The Rock asks Cody, like, "Oh, I want your soul," like I laughed at it because it's like, hey, it's just another day in New York taking the subway. You have random people coming up to you asking me for stuff. So it's like, like it's hilarious. It's something I could relate to. But in all seriousness, um, what we got from this segment, I think that it is something that, like, when you look at the big picture, it's definitely like so much potential with the with how the chamber is going to be affected, how WrestleMania and the 2 night format is going to be used, leading up to after WrestleMania, leading to Money in the Bank, leading up to King of the Ring and Money in the Bank, and even to next year's Mania. So that that's what I took from it. And there were people like throwing out ideas that could be Cena or Punk to take the offer from The Rock. Um, and we'll go, back and forth. But the promo was just bizarre. It's just like if you had baby oil would have it would have completed the trifecta. But
Mhm.
I do think that there is like a lot of potential from this, and it's exactly what we needed from like for a WrestleMania fill, for a WrestleMania build, because a lot of people were complaining. And to call out a lot of these people that no matter what, they're never satisfied. It's like you were the same people that were complaining about how bad SmackDown is. Listen, SmackDown was ass last week. I don't know how it is tonight because we're recording as SmackDown's going on, and
I
so
have it on in the background, by the way.
okay. I'll probably tune in.
Not a heck of a
I'll
whole lot's
probably tune
happening.
in.
And I was it
Yeah,
Trish Stratus came out and she just looked.
yeah. I mean,
Oh.
listen, it's Trish Stratus. Like she's still the fact that she looks amazing, and she's like in her 40s at least. Like she she definitely found the Lazarus pit or something.
Hmm.
She definitely found the Lazarus pit. Like, let me listen. Throw some of that Lazarus water my way, please. Um, but I definitely think that there's just so much potential. But you have people, and just like with Rotten Tomatoes and movie critics and all that, it's important not to book, wrestling just for the vocal minority, for just a few that are yelling the loudest, because you're just never going to be satisfied. Like no matter what you do, they're never going to be happy. And it's just I was laughing. I was like, come on, guys, like think of the bigger picture. You were complaining about the road to WrestleMania being weak, not being as exciting. We were spoiled last year, something that will possibly never happen again in a way. Like, be glad that we have that. And now that we have The Rock concerning himself, I think that we're gonna get we're gonna have it's just gonna be one for the ages for sure. Like I think something like we're gonna get something go down tomorrow night. We just gotta you gotta tune into the Elimination Chamber. But initially, what are your thoughts of the promo last week, and who do you think will offer up their soul to The Rock? And then I'll give like my booking if I had the pen, like who will take the offer, and how WrestleMania is going to be built, from WrestleMania all the way through next year's WrestleMania. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, me and Justin talked about it on Wednesday, so he had a much better idea. Well, we settled on the same person, but he had a much better idea, a much better way to book it than I did. Just keep it short and sweet, and because we're kind of going over time, which is fine because we usually do
It's
that.
fine. It's
But
fine. Yeah, it's fine.
um, CM Punk's gonna take the offer. Cody's gonna turn it down. They're not Cody heel. Cody is their Captain America. He's their guy. He's the draw. He's the guy that does the Make a Wishes and goes to Good Morning America and all that shit. So they're not going to turn him heel. CM Punk. I mean, they've been kind of throwing little Easter eggs here and there since he came back. Him saying, "I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money," and also, telling people, "I'm the devil." Like it's pretty obvious. You know, the devil has no soul. The devil, even if the devil had a soul, he would sell it to the biggest, baddest devil out there. And who better to be the biggest, baddest devil than The Rock? So I think Punk's gonna win Elimination Chamber, not John Cena, and no, like it's not gonna be John Cena. Like John Cena is, doing this retirement tour, and he's barely starting it at Elimination Chamber. So that's number one. Punk's gonna win it. Um, they're gonna build up this big feud with him and Cody that they kind of teased last year, and they teased it again this year with that kind of awkward promo. But looking back on it, I think there was a reason it was awkward. Where
Yeah,
Punk's saying, I'm your only friend. I'm always going to be your friend, but I'm not going to stab you in the back like Kevin Owens did. I'm going to stab you in the front. And then once that heel turn happens at Mania, he's going to become corporate man Punk, CM Punk. And then guys like Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre can be like, we've been trying to warn you, like ever since he came back, that this guy's a cancer, but you guys didn't want to listen. And so then that's when you can put Roman Reigns and Seth in Cody's corner. Like they can act as a shield, so to speak. And Drew McIntyre can still be a heel. He's like, screw you. I warned you against that cancer. Um, yeah, again, it's written on the wall. Like Punk's fine. Punk has money. He's not gonna lose any money being a heel. Matter of fact, he'll probably be even more over as a heel. People love Punk. People love Punk even when he's a heel. So that
yeah,
makes a
that's
thousand
true.
times more sense than, John Cena. I mean that ship has sailed, John Cena being a heel. And even if they did do it, they won't be able to do it because he's filming movies. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's not going to be Johnson. It's going to be CM Punk.
Oh yeah. No, I definitely agree. It's definitely gonna be Punk. Cena doesn't make any sense. Like all the other people don't make sense in the long term. Um, just because like yeah, like McIntyre, like remember The Rock, um, gifting him a sword, and he was the one that helped Drew like resign. He announced that Drew resigned with the company, and he's always praised McIntyre for the longest, but it doesn't make any sense because he's against like yeah he's a heel, but just gonna go double heel. Like it just doesn't make any sense. And then Seth like he helped Cody win the WWE title from Roman and basically like just broke his back. So it just doesn't make any sense. Like dude was on one leg, effed up back. Like you really think, oh, I'm just gonna be, corporate Seth Rollins, and I'm gonna be, in the,
And that
so
already happened, by the way. He did the
yeah,
authority angle like a decade ago.
yeah,
So
yeah. This doesn't make any sense for him to just throw all that away, like all that storytelling, just for just the safe that's the safe route and predictable but bad. And then against Cena, of course, no, like it just doesn't make any sense for him to do that since he's like on his retirement tour. So if Punk is gonna be the chosen man, you're gonna need someone that's gonna sell merch like out the ass, and that's gonna be Cody, and that's gonna be Cena. So you need merch sellers, and of course, you have Jay, but yeah, it just doesn't make any sense for Cena. Like if he was still like full time, if he wasn't retiring, and if this was a decade ago, of course that would make sense. Like I thought he should have turned heel when he lost to The Rock. That would have been a great time for him, but that never happened. Vince didn't want to do that. Um, so there's that. But with Punk is just so intriguing because then he also have the favor. I think that there's a chance that Cena could win the Chamber, and then Punk can come in and and cash in his favor because it wouldn't make any sense for him to win the chamber and then cash in a favor. Like you would think the favor has like some weight
That
to it.
I know Justin said that too, like Cena could win and then Punk can cash in his favor and say, I want to be in the championship match too, and then he beats Cena at night one at Mania and then goes on to face Cody. I mean, I think the favor could also be of telling Heyman, hey, tell your boy Roman to take care of Seth for me. Get Seth out of the way. Or
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that might be a little bit too convoluted, but like I definitely do think the favor will have to do with the main event of WrestleMania somehow. But um, yeah, not Seth. Punk definitely dissing like the way to go. Um, and it's just like I think back to that famous Ring of Honor promo where he tells a story about the Scorpion and how the Scorpion was being nursed back to life, and then he ended up stinging the guy, and the guy's like, why'd you do that? I took care of you. I loved you. And Scorpion can say, you stupid son of a bitch, I'm a scorpion. What'd you think was going to happen? And the greatest trick that the devil ever pulled was making people think he exists. Well, people, what have I been saying since I've been back? I'm the devil. I am the devil incarnate. I am Lucifer. I'm Beelzebub. But worse, I'm CM Punk.
Yep.
There you go.
Love it. Yeah. Like it's definitely so much story to tell. And also since CM Punk wants to main event WrestleMania, he wants to have that WrestleMania main event that was taken away from him. So it makes sense for him to do whatever it takes. Like it's built in his character, you know. So I definitely think that he's gonna be the man. And just the way that they execute, if they execute it well,
Hmm.
and then you add all the other elements, you add Drew, you add Seth, you add um, Cody, of course, like he's the star players. You have Roman, you have The Rock, Heyman, you have all these people, and then it could be a big thing, like you mentioned, like with Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre bringing up that, yeah, that we've been trying to tell you guys, that, he's cancer. Like it's just so much stuff that you can do, and potentially, they, I mean, I don't think The Rock is gonna wrestle, but if he were, it can definitely be a way to introduce Roman versus Rock since they didn't have that match last year. They could somehow like put that in like somehow. Like again, it could happen, it could not, but it's just so many avenues that this storyline can go, so many threads that can come out from just that one promo last week that, you know, meme worthy, but it definitely has so much potential, and I'm excited. I cannot wait. But in closing, we just gotta wait and see with Elimination Chamber. Elimination Chamber will air tomorrow night. I cannot wait. Like like I think I'm anticipating this much more than I was Royal Rumble.
Mm.
Um, I'm excited because this definitely gonna be one for the ages. Not as you can't replicate WrestleMania 40, that build, and that build was glorious, just out of happenstance, but it's definitely gonna be one for the ages. And of course, as Elimination Chamber concludes, the rest of the card for Mania will be built over the next few weeks. So I'm
Hmm.
excited. I'm definitely excited, but with all that excitement, unfortunately, this is it calling the show. Um, we had a lot to cover, but it was just so much, and we went over time. But it's all good. Like it's all good. Go over time a lot, but we got we got to cover a lot. Drew here, and I'm excited. I'm excited to have Culture Attack back. Um,
As mine.
yeah, and we'll definitely talk about for next time. We'll definitely record. Definitely, we'll talk after, but we'll definitely record sometime very, very, very soon to talk about all the stuff that we missed, and as well as Daredevil Born Again, Invincible, and whatnot. And yeah, just and of course the fallout of Elimination Chamber. So we'll have that, or we'll do on your show. Either way, the wrestling talk.
Yeah, we can do
But
that.
yeah, so I'm excited. Another show on the books, and it's been just many, many, many months of hiatus, but back, and of course, you can check out the podcast on Spotify and on YouTube, of course, and where all podcasts can be listened to. But definitely check out YouTube, Spotify, and check out TikTok as well. And just search Culture Attack Podcast and follow me on X at Mr. Ruben Prime and my co-host here at the Y Experience on X, and of course check out
Hmm.
his podcast live on Wednesdays on the Wrestling Soup Discord. And if you can't catch it live, of course, there's always YouTube. There's always the audio version on where you listen to podcasts, wherever wherever your preference is. Just search the experience on your search engines. They point your search engines towards the experience to tune in to the experience. And yeah, any last thoughts before we take it home?
Not a lot. It's great again. Great to be back on the show. I mean, great to have the show back, and can't wait for the next one.
For sure, I'm excited, and a little bit impromptu, little bit promptu, but we'll have a much more streamlined show for next time. It's like out of the whim today, but yeah, we will definitely be back sooner than and yeah, for myself, Ruben Prime and Drew Yari, it's been another episode of Culture Attack, and definitely stay tuned for the next episode, and we will catch you next time. Peace.
Peace.